Good afternoon. Welcome to the Ottawa Business Reopening Workshop for Restaurant and Food Services. My name is Lynn Ladd, and I'm proud to be the Director of Membership and Programs at the Ottawa Board of Trade. You probably know that the mission of the Board of Trade is to create prosperity through our advocacy, collaboration, and leadership. We represent all businesses in Ottawa at every level of government, and we deliver benefits and programs that support a thriving business community. Never before has this been more important. Please visit our website for more information on our policies and member benefits. We are currently creating a special Ottawa reopening strategy with many free programs to support you, including Business Insights, which will be a webinar series, peer groups, which is peer-to-peer mentoring, and a great deal more. So look for upcoming details on the post promise to inspire confidence in your customers and your employees. We are very pleased to offer this workshop series along with our community partners, the City of Ottawa, Ottawa Public Health, and the Ottawa Coalition of Business Improvement Areas. A big thank you to Cindy Van Buskirk and Brian Simpson at the City, to Phil Jansen at Ottawa Public Health, and to Mark Koluski at Ecovia for your continued collaboration and dedication to our community. We're going to begin with a short presentation followed by a Q&A session, and I'll just remind you that you can post your questions for the Q&A in our chat. And it is now my pleasure to introduce our presenters for today. Restaurants and Food Services is being presented by Kathryn Downey, the Program Manager for Safe Food and Water with Ottawa Public Health. Kathryn is going to be supported by Melanie Knight and Laureen DiNardo. They are both with the City of Ottawa in the Planning, Infrastructure, and Economic Development Department. So on that note, Kathryn, if you're all set, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lynn. And
you're very welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kathryn Downey, and been with Ottawa Public Health. I'm proud to say I've been with Ottawa Public Health for 30 years as of June 4th this month. And I'm fortunate to have worked in such an amazing with amazing people, an amazing organization. I'm very proud also to have Dr. Etches as our leader. My background, I'll talk a little bit about my background, very brief, and then we'll proceed into the presentation. So I am a certified public health inspector, and I have spent over half of my career inspecting restaurants, pools, personal service settings, providing education on safe food, safe water, infection prevention control, and mitigating health hazards. And when I reflect back in the past years, I know we faced many challenges in our past, including floods and tornadoes and H1N1 mass meningococcal vaccination years ago. We've never faced anything like we are today, and how it has impacted everyone. So I'm going to share my presentation slides. I have 15 slides that I will go through. And I really want to hear from you and with questions, and I will answer to the best of my ability. So I may not spend a lot of time reviewing all the details on the slides. However, I do want to ensure that we address any key changes or challenges that you may be facing, either predicted or non-predicted, that are the most significant to you and your business. So one more note, as I say, we're in this together, and we all have to take time and plan and do this in a smart way so that we can prevent COVID transmission in the community. So I'm going to now, oh, wait a sec, share slides. Okay, Lynn, is that working?
That is perfect.
Okay, good. We did a trial run earlier, and I'm so glad we did that because this is my first time doing a Zoom presentation, and it wasn't quite working. So happy that I did it right. So
you've got this.
Okay, excellent. So, like I said, I have 15 slides in total, and it'll save most time for Q&A. And the purpose of discussion of today is to discuss basic safe infection prevention control practices and COVID-19 control measures for a safe reopening. And then the second part is more specific with the restaurants, and we want to ensure a review of the safer reopening of restaurants and discuss common challenges that you may face. As we know, a thriving economy is good for public health. Solid economy and robust social networks are really important for public health. Work is a determinant of health, and social supports are really important just for our health and well-being overall. The key here is a safer reopening. It's key to preventing or delaying a second wave of COVID-19 cases. And given what we've all been doing the past few months, we need to be patient, we need to plan, and we need to understand that business processes may take more time than pre-COVID times. Customers need to be patient, understanding that perhaps seating and service may take more time. We need to do this right, so that we can continue to open, keep operating businesses. One sec. So some challenges that we face, just keeping in mind that the province has the authority to change what and when activities are permitted. It's important to note that provincial orders set what is permitted, and that Ottawa Public Health has no indication of timelines of future openings. Last week, with the Monday announcements, we had no idea these announcements were coming, and you know, pleasantly happy that so many businesses were permitted to open. We've been working very diligently, creating guidance documents for all the businesses, and this one for restaurant reopening is now on our website. So ensure, oh wait, okay, sorry about this. I need to just go back here. So ensure a safer reopening, really important. You know your business best. You follow available guidance on opening. Look at provincial guidance first, and then you can go into sector-based guidance and look on Ottawa Public Health's website. We have lots of amazing, excellent information that will support your business and for safe reopening. You want to consider your physical space, ensure protecting employees, protecting your customers, and support vulnerable customers and staff. Some general practices for infection prevention and control overall, this messaging has been consistent. We want to organize our work and be able to reduce contact with people as much as possible. And a note here, we've always said, ideally we can work from home. But as we know, in most roles in the restaurant service industry, that is not possible. So, you know, we will take measures in places such as wearing masks and ensuring physical distancing can occur when they are at work. So we want to ensure you and your employees are fit for work. Ideally, we want to make sure that you do support staff so that when they are homesick, support them to stay home at sick. Practice and promote hand hygiene, respiratory etiquette, and enable physical distancing, crowd control, traffic flow. Plexiglass is an example. You may want to have plexiglass at a hostess stand just for that extra protection there. Cleaning and disinfecting regularly. So common contact surfaces, high touch surfaces, such as door handles, touch screens, credit card machines, frequently touch surfaces, make sure you're cleaning, disinfecting regularly. OPH, again, guidance and Public Health Ontario guidance there's links on our website for that. We also, provide or mandate equipment such as cloth masks in your policy. So this part is more specific with restaurants and food premise reopening, restaurants reopening. So there's 5 main parts of this part of the presentation, which will bring us to the 15 slides. One is ensure food safety and environmental cleaning before opening. Prepare your physical space, develop protocols, ensure safe, active operation, and then I'll review the expectation of what's happening now for public health inspections. So first of all, the food safety and cleaning. So initially you were going in your restaurant, we want to check food and discard any expired products. You want to ensure your equipment is functioning properly. You want to just check, make sure fridges are able to maintain hazardous food at 4 degrees or lower, freezers -18 degrees. Check your dishwashers, make sure that if it's a high temp dishwasher, it reaches that 180. If it's a sanitizer fed dishwasher, make sure that that's working properly. And any other equipment in the restaurant. You want to monitor for pest activity also. So some of these restaurants maybe have been vacant for a long period of time if they weren't checked regularly. Check your dry storage areas in particular. Make sure there's no holes in walls. Protect your food, and basically what you want to do is eliminate the food source for any pests. If you do note pest activity, we recommend getting a licensed pest control operator to assist. And environmental cleaning and sanitizing, again, just clean and disinfect all those high touch surfaces and frequently. You want to wash, rinse, and sanitize any food contact surfaces in the kitchen. And then just ensure adequate supply of hand washing, cleaning, and sanitizing supplies. So here, prepare physical space. Want to rearrange seating and tables to ensure a minimum of 2 meters at each edge of every table and minimum of 2 meters between patrons at different tables. So we don't really want to turn around and have a customer sitting right behind you. We recommend no more than 6 customers should seat at each table. And this number was in a few other health units guidance documents as well. It makes the most reasonable sense that reasonably achieved without having to reorganize your planned space by, if you have to put tables together, for example. We want to remove waiting area seating. So ensure customers are seated. And if they are waiting, make sure that they maintain the 2 meter physical distancing. Just the second slide on physical space. So use visible markers for any lineups. Remove buffet and self-serve locations. There's way too high a risk of customers not able to maintain that physical distancing with buffets and self-serve. Provide directional arrows if possible. And add signage. I would suggest adding signage too, just reminding staff and customers of a self-screening tool. There's called passive signage where there's pictures and it's available on our website also that you can use. And if possible, rearrange your equipment or processes and areas used by staff to ensure that 2-meter distancing can occur. I completely understand that this is not always possible. So when not possible, we recommend masks, face coverings or face shields should be worn. I also understand the challenge you will face you must face in hot summer months on a cooking line, in a hot kitchen, and staff not wanting to wear masks. Again, just to reiterate that the masks, face coverings, or face shield is and maybe take frequent breaks is an option. Again, we're available. Anybody, public health is available for any consult or recommendations that we can do to assist. Obviously, what I didn't add on here, and which is key, and the patios, it applies to all the information I'm providing. But one in particular item for patios maybe is if you are using canopies, tents, or awnings, umbrellas, you want to make sure that it's all open air. So open air on at least 3 sides of these structures. And also you want to make sure that it's as high above the ground as possible. So we say a minimum of 3 meters is recommended. And thinking also, we've had questions since this document's been produced. We get questions that sometimes you don't think of when you're making it, but for example, customers are sitting out on the patio and all of a sudden a rainstorm hits that's unpredictable. We have to remember that the indoor space is not permitted to be used for seating. So pre-plan for that take of potential that could happen. Perhaps have get your takeout containers available if they can take their food home. Perhaps have an abundance of golf umbrellas because obviously they'll have to pay, taking that time to pay before they leave. What you don't want is a dine and dash situation happening. So those are just some suggestions dealing with that. So develop protocols. We recommend reservations only. This allows you to really have control of people coming in and out of your restaurant, and just potential reduced amount of crowds that potentially could occur. We recommend, again, everything when you're thinking of your whole process is try to develop items that reduce the amount of touch. You must reduce the amount of frequent touch that could occur. So some examples here: payment by card and tap, single-use paper menus or online or menu boards. You don't set your tables ahead. Use pre-rolled or packaged utensils. Ideally, you replace condiments with single-service condiments. When that's not always going to be the case, just make sure you sanitize between uses. And these are all examples of, we all have, customers do have to be patient because it will take a bit longer in between in seatings, for example. And then ensure staff active screening occurs prior to every shift. You want to screen staff with any signs, symptoms. Have they been in contact with a positive COVID or suspect positive COVID person? There's a staff screening, there's a screening checklist that's available on our website. It's on online version and a paper version that you can use. Other protocols just recommended is just, again, I mentioned post signage on hand washing and physical distancing. I'll remind again, available on our website. Update protocols on cleaning and disinfecting surfaces and equipment. Make sure you have a good supply of, if you have supply of hand sanitizer for staff and customers. And another suggestion is instead of a hostess seating customers, perhaps you could have numbers on the tables and hostess could just tell them direct them where to go. So training staff is critical. I mean, all these items are critical, but staff need to be trained to understand the importance of these measures that need to be taken. So one item would be how best to serve food. So maintain safe physical distancing and avoid unnecessary handling. An example here could be server coming to serve the food at the head of the table and have the customers pass along to other customers in the party. Same as at the end of their meal, you could recommend that the table stacks plates at the end of the table so that the server only has to go to that one location and not in between each customer. So we also practice physical distancing during breaks. Provide a staff access to masks and gloves as needed. Please remember that gloves are not required. Really important that if you are using gloves, to use them correctly. They're great when they're used right. We want to make sure that if they are used, they're changed frequently and hands are washed between uses. Sometimes gloves give people a false sense of security, and they're touching multiple surfaces without changing and contaminating multiple surfaces at the same time. So that note, and also take the time to ensure staff review the Ottawa Public Health link on proper use of masks. Really important to do that. Just on the note of that, masks, anecdotally, I had a colleague at another health unit received a complaint that the server at a restaurant was serving food while wearing a mask, but when they served anything else, drinks or anything else, they were not wearing a mask. So it's just an example, no ill intent at all. It's just an example of the real importance of providing training and education. And the key message here is maintaining the social distance, or the 2-meter social distance. If you can't, then wear a mask. So encourage frequent hand washing, avoid touching face. Keeping a staff log is recommended, just when and where they where they have worked. And this may be helpful if there is a positive case, that it would help OPH for contact tracing. So just a few more slides here. So during active operation, really important, again, if you're training the staff, you also need to make sure that the owner, operator, or another appointed person is overseeing all these protocols and training that you've implemented, and oversee that they are adhered to. So all customers must be seated. Another thing, we don't want standing at a bar service, at a bar, so make sure they're seated. Clean and sanitize tables, chairs, anything, tops of chairs where you'd be touching that as well, between customers. And if providing recorded music, just turn down the volume. And this just to avoid customers leaning towards each other or shouting. This has been noted to increase the risk of virus transmission beyond the 2 meters. So we are recommending no live music, events, or performances that include singing or wind instruments. And for this reason of increasing the risk of virus transmission greater than 2 meters is the reason for that recommendation. Public health inspections, and the picture here is my friend and colleague Tony Dittori, taken a few years ago. But so public health inspections will occur slightly different also. We typically would come on site unannounced and conduct the health inspection from a food safety lens. And again, it's one of the things is Regulation 493 is our Ontario Food Premise Regulation. Now, because with COVID, we will caution, and it's for the health and safety of our staff as well. They will call ahead for an inspection just prior to the inspection, and they will identify themselves and the reason for their visit, and they will review who they're going to be speaking with the most, and just to review those active screening questions. Just making sure the person they're dealing with doesn't have any symptoms, respiratory symptoms or other symptoms of COVID, and make sure they're well, and make sure they've been not in contact with other suspected cases or positive cases. And so then they would proceed, after that, proceed to the entrance, and also would show identification and conduct the inspection. Again, the inspection may take a little longer because we're going to do, your regular food safety inspection, but also really support you and your business and provide as much guidance, COVID guidance as possible. They may have to, I'm thinking of a cooking line again, and without being able to maintain that physical distancing, may have to wait until that meal or whatever is prepped is complete, and then be able to inspect the fridges and area and that cooking line. We just have to be very open and flexible. The inspectors, again, are provided masks also, and so we would try to avoid like high peak air times where possible. Again, to not interrupt and not be able to maintain that physical distancing during inspection. And at the end of the inspection, the report would be prepared in an area, hopefully that where there's maintain the physical distancing as well. The report will be emailed to the owner or operator. And I'm just going to refer also to these resources. This presentation will be available. And I want to just reiterate again, just making sure, reminding that we have to take our time, plan, work in a smart way so we can work to prevent COVID transmission in the community and continue to operate businesses, and eventually work into provincial direction into phase 3. So that is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much, and I'm open for questions.
That was great, Kathryn. Thank you so much. So questions have already started being posted in the chat. Kathryn, perhaps you could stop sharing so that we can see people's faces as we're chatting with them and asking questions. And while you're doing that, the very first question that we had came from Karen. And Karen wants some clarification on the spacing between customers at a table. So the recommendation was 6 people at a table. And she just wants some clarification on the spacing in between those 6 customers.
So the recommendation of the 6 customers, I think the 6 customers are going to come, or if it's 2 customers or 3, they would be in a party together. So the 2 meters distancing would meaning in between tables beyond that table to another table. Some guidance had been using the 50% capacity rule. We feel like, well, it may naturally become 50% capacity, but but it's more the 2 meters between tables. And the 6 was a number that came about just to really makes the most sense, that you don't have to reconfigure your planned setup in your restaurant by having to put tables together and changing that setup.
Okay, Karen has some other questions, but I'm just going to, Karen, I'm just going to get to them in the order that they appear in the chat.
Okay.
Our next question is from Amin, and they want to know, can you leave single serve condiments at the coffee table? So your prepackaged sugar, prepackaged cream.
Prepackaged
Cream, milk. Yeah, single-use condiments.
So I'd recommend that those would be provided per customer, as customer. There would be potential if there's a bowl of prepackaged sugar, there's more potential for touching, multiple people in between parties touching. So I would recommend that those would be served per order, like, or per customer. Do you need sugar, cream? Amin,
do you want to unmute yourself and just clarify, is it your intention to have a self-service coffee table set up in your establishment?
Yes, actually, we have that. We removed it, but customers always like asking for different products. They change their mind. They don't know how much sugar was in it. So it actually takes a very long time to process that. And some of them said, why you put it there, including actually the milk jar. We provide some like tissue that they can use it to take the jug of milk or a cream as well. So are these acceptable, or we need to take it and go through this long process, painful process to provide the service?
Yeah, and that's a really good point for us to consider in our recommendations as well. I mean, we try to recommend what our COVID guidance and avoiding potential for touching. But in doing so, we also you have to understand your business processes. So really good question, really good point. I want to reiterate that multiple people touching those creamer jugs would not be recommended, just due to the amount of touching that would occur. I can take this offline though, and just have another consult. When not odd questions, but when questions do arise that, again, using evidence, we want to use our most evidence and provincial direction, regulation, evidence, and we also consult sometimes with our Ottawa Public Health Medicine Unit, just to be able to, again, provide the best guidance possible. So I will take this offline just to verify, but right now I'm thinking of the amount of touching that would occur on those creamers.
Mm. Okay, so
sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, can I, if maybe you can leave your contact information and I can connect directly with you after.
Sure, I'll do that certainly. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Our next question comes from Dennis at the Wellington West BIA, and we have a 3-part question. So I guess I'll give you part 1 first, if that's all right. So first question is with respect to patios, what are the spacing rules?
So as far as from Ottawa Public Health guidance, the spacing rules would be that 2 meters distancing, to ensure 2 meter distancing between one table to the other table. So that 2 meters from edge to edge of tables. In addition, 2 meters from like one party table to another party's table.
So the spacing standards for patios would be the same as dine-in customers? Exactly the same?
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so part 2 of Dennis's question.
Can I quickly follow up on that?
Sure.
Yeah, just our neighborhood, Wellington West, as you know, it's a traditional Main Street area. And our restaurants are doing everything they can to kind of stretch whatever space they have. And the city's been really good about giving them extra guidance on that. But the strict 2 meters between parties, it's almost never possible. And they certainly, I mean, I can't think of a patio that can seat, multiple tables of 6 people. So they're tending to do either 2 people per table, or in a corner they might have 4 people per table, and then they'll have other people elsewhere. But in terms of the guidance of like capacity per square meter that they're being given, is that based on your guidance, or is that something that bylaw has said and would be enforcing? I think that's really kind of where the
I see. Okay, so I don't know if who was that online here also to support patio questions?
Melanie and Laureen.
Yeah, do you have information on the capacity per square meters? I believe that would be building code, but
and how it's calculated in the case of a
that question I need to either Melanie or we'd have to consult with building code as far as that calculation. But it's the public health. Yeah, go ahead, Melanie.
Yeah, so I think I sort of see the spacing question as kind of being twofold. One is in relation to the physical distancing requirements by public health, and then the other one is in relation to building code, liquor licensing. So we do have on our website the updated requirements from the AGCO about liquor licensing capacity, and I can actually post the link directly in the chat so that everyone can have that. And then with respect to, I mean, building code, if the patio requires a building permit, there is a strict occupancy through the building code, but my guess is, without knowing like for sure, that probably the public health guidelines in terms of spacing is going to be a lot more than what the building code occupancy spacing is. So I think public health's guidelines are the ones that are probably going to be more than what everything else is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's a case where my businesses, I mean, they're going to try to obey whatever guidelines they have, but they're also going to squeeze every dollar they can out in these desperate times. So trying to give them, kind of practical, sensible rules of thumb is a whole lot easier than giving them a page of guidelines. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's would be like, if you want to pick out key messages as far as that capacity on the patios, that is our guidance, is the 2 meters.
Dennis, did you want to unmute and ask your third question about the inspections?
Well, you dealt a little bit with enforcement. I guess the line between bylaw and public health and what's being enforced by whom is a general question I've gotten a few times. My second was about takeout and best practices and whether people should be concerned about that. But why don't we skip to the third one? Sorry
about that, Dennis.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah.
The enforcement piece?
Yeah, just generally, where should they be looking for guidance on what's going to get them in trouble, I guess is the question. And
right.
At what point do they know whether they crossed the line? All of them heard about the Byward Market example where the gentleman was letting people sit and eat on his patio, and he was also kind of letting them into his bathroom. So you could see how by steps somebody would just cross a line without necessarily realizing that they're crossing it.
Right. And to answer that question, currently we are working with bylaw partners, working with our partners to identify that streamlined who's going to respond to which type of complaints that come in. In pre-opening times, it was always bylaw that would take these types of complaints, and bylaw would, the enforcement piece would be with more respect to crowding. I anticipate that we will receive a lot more complaints that come in from any businesses that we inspect, with respect to the social distancing and physical distancing and PS, whatever, not wearing masks, whatever it could be. So our initial thought with that would be, connecting with the business, making them aware of the complaint and the concern, and we always will stick with providing education. Is always our first step. The enforcement piece, we're looking into more detail of what is enforceable and who will do what with bylaw or public health. But to answer high level your question would be, we would connect and provide information, education, and just the knowledge that these complaints are received.
Is that good, Dennis?
Thank you.
Okay. Our next question is, we're going back to Karen Butterfield, who had asked us a question earlier. And Karen's question is, what are recommendations for how servers hand out and clear up glassware and drinks and single-use bottles or cans, which will then be handled by the customers?
So, sorry, I'm just trying to picture. So can you repeat the question?
Go ahead and unmute, Karen. Oh, she's not quite ready. I understand her question, but I'm not sure I can articulate it well. So I'm going to wait till Karen gets back on.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Fine.
Okay, hi, thank you so much. I guess we're thinking that when a server brings a plate, you don't have to touch the plate. But if they're bringing a drink in a pint glass or a can or a bottle, there's just going to be multiple people touching the same thing when they hand it out and when they clear it up. So has there been any particular thought given to that scenario, and any recommendation apart from washing your hands often, obviously? But
Yeah.
I just wondered if it's a different thing than the food thing.
Right. So
thank you.
Good question. So that, that's part of your business process is number one, is to serve glasses and serve drinks. And then we said pass them along. So that is a business process that's implemented at all places. So in order to do your prevention, we would say hand washing, frequent hand washing, making sure those also the dishwashing and the sanitizing your dishes before would be important too. Making sure, like I said, your dishwashers are working properly, dishes and cutlery are sanitized. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. Our next question is from Karen, but from the Trio Bistro and Lounge. And Karen's question is, what is the status of the patio extensions? And that's not really what we're here to address today, but I was hoping that with Melanie on the call, maybe she could answer that quickly.
Yep, sure. So we do have two basically different classifications of patios. So we have patios in the right-of-way, which are the ones that you see partially on sidewalks. And then we also have patios on private property, which are ones on a private property of a restaurant. So throughout the last few council meetings, council has made some decisions, and they waived a lot of the patio permit fees that are associated with patios on the right-of-way. And they've also relaxed the restrictions that are on for patios on private property. So that link that I put up, ottawa.ca/patio permits, has the information for both different types of patios. And all the information is there with email addresses and contact information and steps that you can follow to either expand your patio or create a new patio or whatever the requirement is.
And Karen, did that answer what you were hoping to hear, or? I don't see.
Sorry, it took me a
Oh,
second to
there she
unmute.
Ah.
Yeah, it did answer it. What confused me was I clicked on it quickly after Melanie shared it, and I still see the fees there. But maybe when you go in deeper, it's removed. I'm not sure. But thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, there is an administrative fee still applies, but we normally would charge a square footage fee for patio permits in the right of way, and that has been waived this year for council. So it's just that there's a administrative fee that's charged, but other than that, there's no other square footage fee.
Thank you very much.
Great. Our next question comes from Caroline, and it's about umbrellas. And her question is, are they allowed to use them? And are there differences in the number of people per table when you're using umbrellas on the patios?
So answer to the question is yes, you are allowed to use umbrellas. Again, it's all about the open air, that it would facilitate open air. And the numbers on the tables, recommendation number doesn't change.
So it would be exactly the same as we discussed before. The parameters for diners inside the restaurant is the same as the parameters for number of people in the patios.
That's right. Yeah. So all of the guidance that we reviewed applies to patios as well.
Caroline, did you have any other follow-ups, or has that adequately answered your question?
No, that was good for me. We were just curious of whether or not we could have like coverings as well, like if you had an awning or anything like that, if there were any restrictions with awnings or umbrellas or anything like that. That's all.
Oh, right. Yeah. So we do if you do have an awning, so yes, you can. And we just recommend that it's that open air with at least three sides are open, and that it's up high so that it allows that open air flow. At least 3 meters off the ground.
Okay, that's great.
Okay,
thank you.
Okay.
Our next question is from Patrice, and this is a great question. Are you required to provide bathroom services?
And that question has come up before. So yes, I believe it's even in the provincial document that the inside of the restaurant is only to be used for like payment. There's a few items, but payment or washrooms are available.
Okay, thank you. Patrice,
and again, the frequent cleaning, sanitizing, all that stuff will be really important.
And challenging, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Patrice, did that answer everything you wanted to know? Yeah, she's good. Thank you. Next question from Robert. What PPE protection is required for people dishwashing? Should they be concerned about aerosols from spraying or rinsing dirty dishes and glasses? That's a great question.
So aerosol, we would recommend also, again, is the masks or face shields. Aerosolized from contact of a dish is going to be scraped. It's going to go into the dishwasher. The key risk here would be contact. So touching and making sure hands are washed properly and avoiding face contact.
Robert, do you have any follow-up questions?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you, Robert. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I used for the dish bed, are you recommending a face shield or masks or anything particular you're recommending?
Oh, sorry, I couldn't quite hear that. I'm gonna just see, I'll turn up my speaker.
I think what Robert is asking is whether or not the dishwasher should wear a shield as opposed to just a mask.
That could be, you could do either or.
And is there what mask?
Is there a preference between cloth or disposable masks?
In general.
In general, cloth masks, you do either. They both function the same way. Like as far as you're actually protecting people around you when you wear cloth masks. So
So is there a,
So that's the whole purpose of the mask. And there's a lot of detailed information again on our website with mask use and masks. And the key piece here is not, if you're unable to do that physical distancing, then that's when we recommend the masks.
so is there anything recommended in terms of of activities that you do that it should be changed or disposed of? Like if you go to the washroom, should you be getting a new mask?
Absolutely.
Which disposable makes more sense than cloth?
Yeah. And if again, you want to avoid touching the mask if you have it on. If you do, make sure your hands are washed. Like you'll hear us always say hand washing constantly. So that there's again, make sure your staff do see the link on our website, and there's a whole link to and a video also about donning and doffing the masks and proper care. But yeah, disposable, like wear a certain amount of time. If it gets moist or wet, then replace it with another disposable if you're using disposable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great. Next question is from Scott, and it's regarding fruit garnishes for beverages, and wanted to know if they can pre-garnish at all or just have them prepped and do it per order.
Good question, because I'm just thinking in terms of want to avoid, that's just an item in my mind that we can avoid that additional contact. I'm not saying you have to do this, but I'd recommend not doing the garnishes because it's a lot of touching and handling. But if you do it, you can choose to do it in a safe manner. But what you suggested, it sounds like a good option, just to pre-garnish the glasses ahead of time, and because then if you're going to wash the fruit or whatever you're using, like your lemons, limes, you want to make sure they're washed. And then whoever's the food handler would do all that prep onto the glasses. To me, that's the safest manner if you do choose to do that.
Scott, did that answer all of your question for you?
Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
Great. Now we've come to the end of the questions that have been posted in the chat. Does anyone have something that they'd like to either follow up on or any further questions on topics that Kathryn hasn't covered yet?
I may ask a question if you don't mind.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, generally from all the answers, there's a lot of, it's not clear there's no clear, a definitive answer. It's mostly, it's a logical thinking, and it is how we see it best fit to protect everyone, including ourselves. Is that the sense that we are getting?
That's correct. We're coming up with the best guidance possible to, again, to prevent further transmission in the community. I'd say we all have to do our part. And if there's ever questions about the guidance or specific questions, like please contact me or call Ottawa Public Health intake line as well. So it's an overarching guidance is really bottom line. If you're looking, this is not a regulation. Where you see in a regulation indicates thou shall, different languages used in a regulation.
And I think
we all, again, let's all do the best we can, the best part we can. This hopefully this guidance document, it's COVID guidelines for reopening your restaurant. So that's where I hope everybody will have that, a guidance document. I can make sure I send it to you, Lynn.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It is available on the website, but I'll send it so you can share with this team.
I think Amin's question is quite fair, though, in the sense that, you know, even our federal government didn't really have perfect pandemic response ready and in place for when this started. And I think Ottawa Public Health has done an amazing job trying to get caught up and add those extra layers over and above the day-to-day requirements of maintaining a clean and healthy restaurant. But it's a fair question that, you know, he's asking.
It is.
It's all about, is this just guidance? And ultimately, yes, it's guidance for safer reopening, but I don't think anybody was properly prepared for what hit us in late March this year.
Oh, no way. I know. Nobody.
Yeah, there's a lot of organizations that have been working literally around the clock since this whole thing started. And I know that Ottawa Public Health is definitely one of them. But, you know, I mean, thank you for asking that question, because it's interesting to hear Kathryn clarify that these are not regulations, these are guidance. And the whole point of this is to help protect your health and safety and the health and safety of your clientele and your customers. And that confidence to your customers is ultimately one of the key drivers to your continued success. If they're not confident about going in and being healthy and safe in your place of business, they simply won't return. So these extra guidelines, I think, are very, very valuable. But those are my thoughts on it.
Yeah, and we continued, like I said last week, all of a sudden reopening so many things all at once. And so yeah, we've been working diligently on developing the best guidance possible that we know of. And again, it's based on provincial requirements and as well as evidence and reports from known transmissions. So it's really important to follow this guidance, again, in order to prevent this spread. And we don't want to wave two, we want to stay open.
So we have a question about where on the OPH website can you find today's slideshow. So I'm going to guess, Kathryn, that it is not currently on the website. We're going to send the slides out to anyone who is registered for today's webinar. So I think that's coming from Fairmont Hotels. Is that right, young fam? We will make sure that you get the slides from today so that you can share them with your team. We know that it's very important that your entire team receive this information.
As well as the guideline that we have developed that I'll send to you, Lynn.
Yeah.
You can send together, yeah.
And perhaps we could include some OPH restaurant and food services specific links too. Give them a nice package.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that was on the last slide with some of the.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, the links and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay, so just to clarify, we'll send out the webinar recording link when it's up live. We will provide you with Kathryn's slides from today. And in the final slide in Kathryn's presentation are a number of fantastic links specifically for restaurants and food services that you can refer to. And then
just that first question, I want to just speak to whoever was asking about the condiments.
Yep, Amin has posted his info, and I'll make sure that you get that.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
So I'm just noticing the time, and it's just about 2 o'clock, and we have no more questions pending in the chat. So I think to respect everyone's time today, we'll wrap this up. But please remember to call Ottawa Public Health at any time if you have questions about this. They are here to provide you with this guidance. They are more than happy to help you. If you can't remember how to get a hold of them and you want to check with Ottawa Board of Trade, by all means, reach out to us as well. And we will always steer you back to Ottawa Public Health because they are the experts in this area. But don't forget, we are here specifically to help your businesses and nothing more. So.
And I'm really happy to be able to have reached out to so many of you. So that's, and it's all in our best interest. And thank you very much.
Absolutely. Bye, Karen. I see you.
Thank
you. Have a lovely afternoon, everyone. Get outside safely and enjoy this beautiful day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.